Have you ever felt it? That heavy, invisible weight that pushes you back into bed, just as the alarm clock shrieks its morning song. That deep, comfortable urge to put off the hard thing until tomorrow, even though you know, deep down, that tomorrow will feel exactly the same. We often look at massively successful people, the ones who seem to possess endless drive, and we assume they are simply built differently. We think they never wrestle with the demon of procrastination. But what if the secret to their success isn't that they never feel lazy, but that they have mastered a specific, simple technique to override it? What if they found the switch that defeats the feeling of, I don't want to do this today? That is the story we explore today. While we listen to the story of a young man named Ethan and his crusty mentor, Captain Silas, we will also learn some new words like diligence and inertia, that hold the keys to achieving persistent action in your own life. Our story begins 20 years ago on the rocky coast of Maine. Ethan was 23 years old, and he had inherited a dream. It wasn't a massive corporate empire. It was a fishing charter business in the small town of Boothbay Harbor. The centerpiece was the Seafarer, a 35-foot boat with faded blue paint, a sturdy engine, and a serious need for constant maintenance. Ethan loved the idea of the job. He loved the freedom. He loved the smell of the salt water and the potential of earning hundreds of dollars in tips from eager tourists looking for the perfect view of a lighthouse. His initial motivation was explosive. For the first week, he was up before 5 a.m. every day. He scrubbed the deck. He reorganized the tackle boxes. He studied the tide charts until his eyes blurred. He told his friends, I'm going to make this the best charter business in 500 miles. But the reality of success is never as glamorous as the initial vision. By the end of the third week, the sparkle had faded. The decks needed scrubbing. Again. The tiny engine part he replaced on Tuesday broke again on Thursday. The weather turned cold and damp, and no tourists showed up for his 10 a.m. run. Suddenly, the 5 a.m. alarm became a torture device. One misty morning, Ethan hit the snooze button 4 times. When he finally dragged himself down to the harbor at 8, he saw the mess. Ropes were tangled. Trash cans were overflowing. The hull needed sanding before the next season, but that job felt like climbing Mount Everest. What's the point? He muttered to himself, leaning against the cold rail. If he couldn't see a huge, immediate reward, the effort felt meaningless. The sheer volume of non-glamorous labor necessary to keep the seafarer afloat felt overwhelming. This is the conflict we all face. The gap between initial, exciting motivation and the dull, grinding reality of sustained diligence. One dock over, working on a slightly older, much cleaner boat named the Perseverance, was Captain Silas. Silas was legendary in Boothbay. He was nearly 80 years old, moved with a careful slowness, and yet, somehow, he always had the fullest nets. He never missed a day. Rain, choppy seas, blistering sun. Silas was out there. Ethan watched Silas methodically retie the hundreds of feet of rope on his mooring lines, a task that looked tedious and endless. Ethan walked over. "Morning, Captain," Ethan said, sighing dramatically. "I don't know how you do it. I just feel so drained lately. All this work for nothing. I had 3 clients all last week." Silas didn't look up. He looped a perfect knot, then gently secured it. "You look for the big haul, Ethan," Silas said, his voice raspy like old sandpaper. "You look for the lottery win, the perfect day, the $20,000 client. And when you don't get it, you stop moving." He finally stood up, his gaze steady. "Do you know the secret of the sea, son?" Silas asked. Ethan shook his head. "Inertia," Silas stated plainly. "The hardest thing in the entire world is to get a stopped object to start moving. A boat at rest is anchored by inertia. It takes massive amounts of fuel and grinding force just to break that seal. But once you are moving, even a little, you only need a steady stream of power to keep it going." This was the mentor's core lesson. Silas pointed to the hundreds of lobster traps stacked neatly on his deck. I don't get successful because I catch 1,000 lobsters in one trap, Ethan. That never happens. I succeed because I go out every single day, check every single trap, and put in the maintenance work on the boat so that when the weather is good, I'm ready to move. The successful aren't successful because they have endless motivation, Silas continued. They are successful because they have eliminated the feeling of inertia by never fully stopping. Silas introduced the concept of the 7-minute rule. When you feel that laziness, that resistance, you don't negotiate with it. You just promise yourself 7 minutes of movement, not the whole job. Just 7 minutes of sanding the hull, 7 minutes of organizing the fuel lines, 7 minutes of reading the tide charts. 7 minutes is not enough time to justify stopping, Silas concluded. But it is more than enough time to break inertia and begin the process of movement. Ethan took the lesson to heart, but not immediately. He slipped back into his lazy habits for another week. He skipped sanding day, reasoning it was too much work. Then a squall hit the harbor, violent and unexpected. His poorly maintained boat, the Seafarer, took a beating. A loose line snapped, smashing against a window, which cracked. If the maintenance had been done, the boat would have ridden the storm fine. Ethan spent $2,000 on emergency repairs, $2,000 he had not yet earned. He realized the cost of laziness was not rest, but double labor later. This was his turning point. He stopped waiting for the feeling of motivation. He started acting out of commitment, out of what Silas called diligence. The next morning, the alarm went off at 5 a.m. Ethan was tired. He felt heavy. The mental negotiation started immediately. It's too cold. Just wait an hour. Then he remembered the 7-minute rule. He pulled on his thick fleece jacket, stomped down to the harbor, and instead of facing the daunting 12-hour task of repairing the window frame, he focused only on the smallest thing: emptying the overflowing trash cans and wiping down the instruments in the cabin. That took 6 minutes, but when the 6th minute hit, the inertia was broken. He was already moving. He was already warm. The physical effort had stimulated his mind. Instead of stopping, he picked up a rope and started recoiling it, working for another 15 minutes before making coffee. He didn't make massive progress that day. He didn't book a huge charter, but he moved forward. He did not go backward. He repeated this every day. 7 minutes of focused, simple movement to break the inertia. Then, allowing the momentum to take over. It took 1 year, not 1 week, but the Seafarer transformed. It became reliable. It became pristine. Because Ethan wasn't looking for the big break. He was simply showing up, being diligent, and refusing to allow the boat to fall back into stagnation. The secret of the successful is profoundly simple. They have learned that motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes like the tide. But diligence is an action, a commitment to consistent, small forward motion. Most people wait until they feel inspired to start the work. Successful people understand that starting the work is what creates the inspiration. They focus on defeating inertia, that massive resistance to starting, by using the smallest, most manageable dose of action necessary to get the engine running. We learned the word diligence today. It means careful and persistent effort. We learned inertia, the tendency to do nothing, or to remain unchanged. Your success is determined by how well you defeat inertia and sustain diligence. Don't wait to be motivated to write that paper, to start that workout, or to fix that broken thing in your life. Just commit to 7 minutes of focused movement. Those 7 minutes are the quiet secret that turns a dream into daily reality. As the famous writer, John C. Maxwell, once said, "You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine." Remember that success is not a massive jump. It's the small, relentless steps that avoid stagnation. I'll be back again with another inspiring story. Till then, be patient, be thankful, and keep moving forward in life.